Where are you at with Matt Dumba? Of course, Dumba on Arizona. The Leafs were linked to him. We had Elliot Friedman on a couple months ago, and he talked about how the Leafs really, really wanted Dumba. He elected to go to Arizona, presumably for maybe a bit more, but who knows truly on that front. Would Matt Dumba do it for you? I mean, let's say, and I would have to think he's a contingency plan. If you don't get Chris Tanev, it's probably Matt Dumba.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, he's not my first choice. I think a bigger body with more of the snot that is needed in the playoffs is a little better, and Chris Tanev fits that. But I can't claim to have watched Dumba 100 and front to back games and understood what exactly what makes him tick. So I can't act like a Matt Dumba expert, but certainly one of the top tiers of the NHL and a guy that could facilitate some of the things that they need around Toronto for sure. But like I said, not my first choice, but if that's, all you had and that's what you can put together and the deal sounds right and you feel like you're winning it, then for sure.
I'm just curious to see how the market goes. Like it's so fascinating that a couple weeks back at All-Star Weekend, we congregated, the Nation Network did here in Toronto, and it was just mayhem. Like Elias Lindholm gets traded, Sean Monahan gets traded. And now there's like this mega holding pattern where I think a lot of teams are looking at Calgary and saying, like, what are you doing with Jacob Markstrom? What are you doing with Tanev? What are you doing with Hannafin? Philadelphia's still in a playoff spot. Like, I love trades, man, but I don't get this excitement level this season because A, there's not much out there, and B, I think teams have learned to an extent from the last couple of years. Like the Rangers stuck out from last year, where you pick up Tarasenko, you pick up Mikkola, you pick up Patrick Kane, and it really didn't get them headed in the right direction. We talk about Swiss Army guys; those seem to be the biggest pickups the last couple of years. Barbashev, Lehkonen, guys like that. And there's just not much out there. So I wonder, from a domino effect, what happens first? Is it a Tanev? Is it a Markstrom trade? Is it a Henrique trade? But how does that impact the Leafs is what I'm going for here. Because, again, if they don't get Tanev, it seems like 7, 8, 9 teams involved in Tanev. Where do they go next? Like, if Philadelphia is not serious about trading one of those two guys, and Walker or Sealer, do you go to Dumba? Like, that's what I want to know. They have to have a contingency plan in place here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no guarantees they're going to get Tanev just because they could use him and they want him. There's a lot of guys talking about him and using his services. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting because the last couple of years, it seems like so much has happened pre trade deadline that it's kind of a boring deadline. Like there's not much to talk about, and everyone's kind of moved, and the pieces that are left that come through are kind of scraps almost. Where
Yeah.
this year is kind of setting up to be oh my God, a scrambling frenzy at the last minute where trades are coming in. You can't even analyze the last one before the big next one comes in. And that's more exciting for trade deadline shows and all that type of thing. But it seems to be a holding pattern for sure. And I don't think, obviously, when the talks are happening, no one wants to show their hand too closely and be the guy that bows down a little bit extra to get a deal done and then regrets maybe jumped the gun a little bit or maybe got taken advantage of. So it seems like a holding pattern. And yeah, make no mistake that there's more people interested in Tanev than just the Toronto Maple Leafs. And, they will, those guys that they mentioned, they'll be looking for, they just want, I think they just want a big blue liner that can be solid and be clean and be smart and be hard. Right. So anyone that fills those skates, get them in a Leafs uniform. And, our first choice, I think, is certainly Chris Tanev.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.